Have you ever wondered how pro teams make site executes look so flawless? Have you ever felt lost about how to position yourself once your team plants a spike? And have you felt frustrated the moment your teammates die on site and you're just stuck playing Retake Simulator?
What is your wall to go around?
We've been going through a series on this channel about map control, and in this third part of our ultimate map control guide, I'll go over how to fight for site control for both attackers and defenders. The team that has more site control before the bomb goes down will generally have a much higher chance of winning the round. It's like playing tug of war, but most of the rope is on your team's side when the game starts. Just like how on a macro level there is the opening zone, intermediate zone, and the final zone, inside the final zone itself, there are 3 subsections of space that you need to understand. There's a front site, mid site, and a back site. If your team is doing a 4 to 5 man push to plant the spike, the optimal entry pathing you want to take is having the first and second entries clearing each side of front site. With proper spacing, even if one of them dies, the other should be able to get the trade. After clearing front site, the 2 foremost people should branch off to the right and left sides of the site and continue pushing through mid site. By doing so, you are effectively creating a net around the site and trapping anyone inside of it for your teammates. Once you've pushed through mid site, all that's left is pinching back site together, and the site should be completely safe for your teammates to plant the spike. Instead of a 5-man push, your team can also execute a site with a split push. The benefit of doing a split push is that defenders now have to worry about another choke point that they can get pinched from. It's like when you're playing games late at night and you want to focus playing, but you're super scared that your parents might open the door and absolutely destroy you. However, the downsides to a split push is that your team isn't grouped up together anymore, so your team might become susceptible to aggressive plays from the defender side. During a split push, there will usually be a strong side and a weak side due to odd numbers. If there are 2 players in A main and 3 players going mid, mid would be your strong side and A main would be your weak side. Your team's strong side should make first contact before your weak side. Just make sure that the weak side isn't too far behind so that it becomes too late to also push up. It's generally way better to have your strong side take mid control during a split push because there's more ground that your team needs to cover. If you don't know me, my name is Kompeki and I'm a Radiant coach, but I'm mainly known for running Valorant's #1 live coaching program called the Immortal roadmap program. Inside, we specialize in helping players rank up 5 divisions in just 6 weeks or less. At the time of recording this, we sold out all 30 spots for season 11 of our program, so we just opened up another 30 spots for season 12. I imagine these spots will sell out in the next 10 to 14 days, so if you want to get involved before those spots go and we shut things out until April, click the first link in the description below for a free training that we got for you as a teaser for the program. Otherwise, enjoy the video. The breakdown of how to take sites applies for defenders as well during retakes, but in the reverse order. Your team should clear all of back site first before branching off to clear the mid site in pairs, then clearing all of front site, and lastly fighting attackers who are playing off site for the post plant. If you cleared all of off site as well and the last player still hasn't been spotted, there's a good chance that the last player has wrapped all the way through mid and flanked during the post plant. There are some exceptions to this rule because defenders have to clear front site and off site before moving onto mid site and back site to defuse the bomb for sites such as B site ascent, the sites on fracture, and A site split. It's also important to note that just like a split push from attackers, adding pressure from multiple chokes on the site is also very important during a retake. If your whole team funnels out of heaven and your team doesn't apply any pressure towards door because it's still closed, the attackers on site will only have to worry about holding heaven. You're literally giving away free real estate. With the exception of some of the sites that I listed, duelists who are defending the spike are often the ones playing back site closest to the defenders. This is because they're most likely to be the ones that entered site first and the furthest pushed up. Their kit also helps playing this first contact position because they have flashes and escape abilities that can also help them stay alive the longest in a very forward position. If you are an agent with utility that can get enemies off the bomb, it's best if you play off site with a bomb planted in your line of sight. Anyone else can play back site, mid site, or front site with the rest of the team and hold crossfires on chokes that defenders can enter the site from. For defenders retaking the site, the setup should be very similar to attacking the site, but from the opposite direction. Step 1, use some initiator utility to get info for the duelists who are entering the site. Step 2, use smokes to cut off angles from enemies playing off site, which leaves attackers on site isolated from the rest of their team. Step 3, pinch the site from as many entry points as possible to create a net around the site. Well-timed flanks are very useful for this reason. Step 4, once the site is cleared, smoke off the bomb if possible and stick to the defuse. If a smoke isn't available, the whole team only needs to focus looking at off-site positions while one teammate sticks to the defuse. During post-plant scenarios, if your team is down in numbers, for example a 2v3, try to look for 50-50 fights, even if it means taking more risk to push out, because if the enemies group up, fight your team together, and play trades, there's a very high chance that you lose the round. If your team is even in numbers like a 2v2, you can coordinate with your teammate to isolate fights together. For instance, peeking one angle together to take a 2v1 fight and getting a numbers advantage. Last but not least, if your team is up in numbers, there's no need to play any risky or aggressive positions to take fights, because as long as you cover every angle and hold crossfires, your team will have more life at the end of the round and therefore win. Leave a comment about what series you would want to watch next, and I have even more resources inside my Discord server that might help. You can also find me in there to ask me any questions. As always, thanks for watching.